It is that time of year, and I'm not talking about any jolly Christmas cheer, but rather I'm talking about there being more commanders coming to Rise of Kingdoms, especially more cavalry commanders specifically, and that means I need to update my investment tier list. It needs to be updated very quickly so you guys can make good decisions on which commanders you want to expertise. So if you want to know the best current commanders for expertising and leveling up, and maybe you want to know if you should invest in Belisarius Prime especially, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now I just want to start off by talking about how I rank these commanders, because obviously I'm not ranking these commanders based on how they're performing right now. That would be my open field performance list, which I'm not going to make till Belisarius is fully in the game. Rather, I'm ranking these commanders about their future potential. Do I think a commander will be good in the future? Do I think they are going to be bad in the future? That is the goal of today's tier list, and when I do this, I consider their skills, I consider their debuffs, their pairings, if they're very flexible or not. That's really what I look at. So that's what today's tier list is. So even if a commander is doing rubbish right now, but I think they might do better, or if a commander is doing really good right now, but I think they're going to do worse, they're going to be judged based on that, but not based on what they're doing right now. Now here is the tier list, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking this looks a little bit strange. We've never ever seen your tier list look like this, and it's because this time you guys can also vote on this tier list. There'll be a link in the pinned comment and in the description, so if you want to do your own voting about all the commanders here and which ones you think are the best, then trust me, check out that tier list. The link will be in pinned comment and also in the description. So if you want to express your opinions, if you want other people to see which commanders you think go where, check it out. You can vote any commander on whichever tier you want, and every single vote gets counted, and a final tier list will come out. So this is my opinion plus yours, and if you guys do like this form of a tier list, do let me know. And I think it is easier to record it since I just have to push these buttons instead of dragging the commanders around. But without further ado, let's begin. First of all, we have Gorgo, and Gorgo is definitely a strong infantry commander. She's going to go in good choice though. She's a Mightiest Governor commander, currently pretty difficult to access, and her best pairing is, well, Liu Chu, who's currently on the screen, and I think she's definitely got some pretty good future potential. The only thing is, she's very difficult to access, so until she gets other forms of being able to access her, like Daily Special Offer, or like Heart's Desire event, stuff like that, I think she's just good in the good choice, since she's much harder for people to gain usage out of. Liu Chu, I mean, he's a must invest, there's no doubt about that. Ethelfled, she's a very rare investment, I want to say. Most people should skip her just in terms of using her on the open field. Obviously, she's free, so you could argue she should be a must invest because you get her for free, you don't have to spend anything. But if we look at this as if she cost normal gold heads, then she's just a very rare investment because you don't really need to put gold heads in her, you can't even if you wanted to, and really she's just not the best commander nowadays. Nevsky, must invest. He used to be in good choice. I've moved him up because we've seen the new Cav commanders. He's nowhere near as overpowered. Alexander the Great is actually moving up from some players onto the good choice tier, because I think as an investment, Alexander the Great has a little bit more potential, actually a lot more potential now with Liu Chu, and I reckon once we see new Smite commanders release, Liu Chu with Alex might actually settle in a little bit better, as Gorgo may get a new best pairing with a new Smite infantry commander. As for Attila Takeda, he's going to some players today. He was actually at risk of moving down a tier recently, but now that he's getting a relic very soon, I think he is worthy of this tier. Also, I forgot to mention Alexander the Great will be getting another tier to his relic, which obviously is going to improve him with Liu Chu. Belisarius, I'm putting him in good choice. He is a good investment. A lot of people are saying he's rubbish. Some people say he's at the level of a KVK2 commander. I mean, that's just not true. He's definitely got a lot of uses. He's got some really strong debuffs. He's got an instant trigger debuff on his expertise, which is really, really nice. And he's going to be great for people swarming. So if you're a whale, he's basically a must invest. And for lower spenders and free-to players running 3-4 marches, he's got a lot of usage there, and I think he's a very good pairing with Ho Che Bing, who we'll talk about later. So Belisarius, he's got his position in the meta. Yes, he doesn't have AoE. Yes, he isn't what people wanted, but he is still a strong commander, so I'm not going to hate on him for that. Xiao Xiao, he's a never invest. I mean, you don't really invest in him nowadays. Chandragupta, since we've seen new calves, he's going to go into very rare. He doesn't have any crazy pairings anymore. He's not really very strong on the open field, if we're being realistic. And his debuff, while it is still one of the best in the game, isn't going to be utilized as much until we see new commanders who maybe have the same thing. Similar to Herman Prime getting poison, we may see a cab with the blessed stack, but it won't be this year. Charlemagne is going to go into Never Invest. Charles Martel is going to go into some players. I think he's got his position in the meta. He's got some uses when you first hit Season 3 and Season of Conquest. He just isn't game breaking. CJ is the most average commander I've ever seen, so I think he deserves the average commander tier. Some players, I mean, you can use him. He's going to do pretty good, but sometimes he's going to do pretty bad. But overall, he works with pretty much anybody. He trades pretty decently, but he's just not game breaking like some of the commanders in higher tiers. Cleopatra is gathering, Constantine only in Sunset Canyon, Gilgamesh only for big murder balls, YSS, he's not even really a good garrison anymore if I be realistic, so I think he's worthy of the never invest here. Zenobia, only good with Gorgo, but I've seen Gorgo doesn't really go very well with Zenobia nowadays, doesn't really pair that much with her, sorry. So we see more Gorgos with Heraclius and more Gorgos with Constantine at least. Edward of Woodstock, very rare. I mean, Season 2 Rally, also maybe Season 2 Open Field, okay Season 3 because not many people have the best commanders yet. Season of Conquest, I just wouldn't even look at him. El Cid, I would never really invest in him. He's good in like KVK 1, so maybe Wales can choose him, but most free-to-players, or literally all free-to-players, I would skip El Cid. Eleanor, she's going to go into some players purely because she will be a meta garrison when she releases, there's no doubt about that. But similar to Ditto, she's going to move down tiers as time goes on. She's going to sit in this tier for now, but in the probably next 5 to 6 months, she's going to fall out of the meta a lot more. But because she's a garrison, we do expect that, and that's why she's in the some players tier, because we're treating her as a garrison in this situation, and that means she's got her use as a meta garrison. Frederick, very rare investment. 5-1-1-1-1 in KVK 1 is very good, otherwise I wouldn't use him. Genghis Khan, same thing, very rare investment, maybe as a rally in KVK 2, but that is it. Hannibal Barca, never invest. I'm going to put Harold into a some players tier. He's got his uses city popping, he's got his uses with CPO and Alex for some players, and he's still a fairly okay open field commander. Is he meta? No. Is he game breaking? No, but he's definitely still fairly powerful, which is why he's deserving of this tier. The same stuff can be said for Honda, not game breaking, but overall pretty solid. Bertrand, I want to say the same thing. He's overall pretty solid. He's better than most of the commanders in the very rare tier, but he's not at the level of the good choice, and he's actually at risk of moving down in my opinion. Artemisia, same case, she's a okay commander nowadays. The only thing that's really hurt her is the release of Ashur Bani Pal has given Boudica Prime a new best pairing, so I don't think Artemisia is worthy of a higher tier anymore. She's probably only going to be moving down from here. Suleiman I wouldn't touch. Cyrus is a very rare investment nowadays. He used to be in some players. As I've used him more and I've been testing him out a lot more on the open field, he isn't as meta as he used to be, not even close. My Cyrus used to trade way better, but a lot of commanders just shred him nowadays. Guan Yu, I think Guan Yu's got his place, especially in Canyon, especially in Arc and those types of game modes, and he's good with 2 infantry marches, but he's only been getting weaker as time goes on. I haven't really seen anything make Guan Yu stronger, really ever since he's released, besides Scipio Africana. So Guan is only downhill from here. I think we've been seeing that over the recent maybe 6-7 months, so that's why he's an okay investment if you're desperate for 2 infantry marches, but he wouldn't be my go-to choice. Scipio Africanus, he's a must invest still, even though he isn't a very new commander. I want to say he's better than Gorgo because of the double AoE, and it's just as simple as that. Pakal is going to go into some players tier. I mean, he's definitely a strong commander sometimes. He's good for city popping, but that's really it. And he can be a tanky commander for a bigger murder ball, but I wouldn't really go for him unless you are a bigger whale player. Leonidas, very rare, if not a never investment. He can be okay. Very, very early season of Conquest, but that would be about it. Nebuchadnezzar, some players can choose to use him. He's still decent on the field, but he's not really game breaking anymore, and his AoE is starting to get outdated by the likes of Ashur Bani Pal. Joan Prime, still a must invest commander, especially with Nevsky, and Nevsky Joan is still looking like it's going to be the best cavalry pairing purely because of her AoE. Ishida, gathering commander. Jadwiga, not a meta garrison anymore. Xian Ziska, still going to be a good garrison, especially with Eleanor, but I think that he's only going to get weaker as the next Cav garrison releases, so I wouldn't really invest in him. I'd rather get Eleanor or Heraclius before I consider a Jan Ziska. Julius Caesar, he's a gold key commander, his museum relic is pretty damn decent, and if you put him with a commander that's got a fast rage cycle like Hao Bing or Zhang Yu, he's gonna trade pretty good. I think he's also gained a bit of value as people wait to expertise a Belisarius maybe. Instead of putting no commander with their Hao Bing, they could put a Julius Caesar as kind of a placeholder, and since he's a gold key commander, that's certainly reasonable. Lubu, I mean, I wouldn't even touch him. Mehmed is similar to that of Honda. Decent commander, pretty good with a lot of other commanders, just not game breaking. Minamoto, he's moving down from the good choice tier this time. I think he's got his uses, there's no doubt about that, but he's not a game breaking commander. He can work on the open field, he can work in barbarian forts, and he used to work very well with commanders like Halchebing and Nevsky, but they've now got better pairings. They've got William and they've got Belisarius and they've got Joan, who just are going to trade better than Minamoto, which is why I think he's not really worth the investment anymore. But granted, he is pretty much free in terms of you don't have to use any gold heads on him. So if you don't really care about the money, he is still definitely a pretty decent commander. Mulan, very rare. She's only really good for Canyon and some open field support. Ditto, very rare. She's only good for an archer garrison player, which is very niche nowadays. Ragnar, very rare. Because Takeda is getting a relic, he's not going to be as good with Attila, but because Attila's getting a relic, I guess it does improve his trades overall. But really, I think Takeda is going to be the more used commander now over the Ragnar, because Ragnar is not going to be getting another level to his relic just yet. I think that with new calves and all that, Ramses, I just would never really invest in him. Richard, I'm going to say very rare. Maybe KVK1 if you AoE chain a lot, but otherwise I would skip him. Saladin, KVK2 if you're a cav main, but that is it, and it's still, I would recommend saving the gold heads. Flavius sometimes works as an infantry garrison, can be okay when you're looking at like 5 or 6 infantry marches, but he isn't really a go-to commander for most players. Boudica Prime, she's going to be our next commander into the good choice tier, and she is still definitely killing it on the open field for me. She's dealing a really good debuff, no doubt about that, and with the release of Ashur Banipal, she's seen almost a new breath of life just because of how strong it is. Speaking of Ashur, I'll just chuck him into that tier now. Because of Boudica Prime, he's also a very good commander, and he's got a decent AoE, he's got decent skills, he does need his expertise though, which is something we should consider, but because of how new he is and how strong he currently is, he is a good choice for people looking for around 2 archer marches. Moctezuma, I mean, never invest in Moctezuma. Henry is going to go to the some players tier. I think he used to be in good choice, but I think that nowadays, I'd rather an Ashur Banipal before I do get a Henry, especially now that we've seen Ashur Banipal develop and mature a little bit in the player base. He's earned more respect from a lot of people, and he's definitely a stronger commander. Zulang must invest. I mean, do I have to say any more? Even if a new 5-target AoE commander releases, he's still going to be complete meta. Tarek is a some players commander. I mean, if you're running 3 or so infantry marches, he's a good pickup, but he isn't your go-to choice. Alchebing, good choice. He's a very good commander with Belisarius. He's going to trade very well with Belisarius. And when you're making 2 cav marches, I mean, Halchebing with Belisarius is one of your best options. Heraclius, once again, I'm going to put him in some players. He's a very generic garrison, which means he works with just about anyone, so I wouldn't mind running a Heraclius inside of a garrison situation with any garrison commanders. That's why he's worthy of that tier. Also going to chuck Sargon in that tier. Decent commander for 3 or more infantry marches, decent for swarming whales, but he's not the best commander. Same thing with Justinian, decent for 3 or 4 cav marches, but he's not the most overpowered. Thumos, he's good in KVK2, he isn't your go-to choice. Same thing for Pyrrhus, good KVK 1 and 2, both of those commanders, but they're not OP. With the release of the new siege commanders, I think Margaret, and I'll also just drop Barber in that tier, they're both just very rare investments. They're only for 2 siege marches, and I've never really seen anyone do that, besides like the Mr. Siege guy on YouTube. So mainly you're going to notice that those 2 siege range commanders are not the meta anymore, and you would rather the 2 newer siege commanders. Herman Prime, I mean, must invest. Best archer march in the game, Zulang Herman, crazy debuff, crazy damage, and they both got AoE. Garjamada and also his best friend Gonzalo, they're going to go into some players, and it's not because they're bad. I mean, they're arguably worthy of the good choice tier. It's just because for a lot of people, you need to make a massive investment to do it. You need to make a whole new set of equipment, you need to double expertise 2 new commanders from scratch, and then you are going to have to stick with a siege march. You can't really get rid of it. So unlike Cavs, infantry, and archers, where you're pretty much always guaranteed to have that value, we aren't too sure about what future siege commanders and range commanders may hold, which is why that I want to say they're not your go-to choice just yet. Maybe as time goes on and more people get siege, I'll move them up a few tiers, but for now, some players is where they're going to sit because they are still a very niche troop type. Amanatori, I mean, she's very rare, only works somewhat with Artemisia. Sundok, I wouldn't invest in. Takeda, he's going to go into some players because he's getting a museum relic, and so is Attila. They're going to be a pretty okay pair now, even though it's not the biggest relic, it's just a few small stat boosts. They're still going to be trading better, and they're still going to have more of a place in the meta purely because of it. So if you're a whale looking for a anti-swarm march, I think I'd rather an Attila Takeda over a Pakal and Harold just in the current meta. Theodora, never invest. Tamiris, she's very rare. If you're running 5, maybe 4 archer marches, you can consider it, and even then she's not the best because she has some D-synergy with Herman Prime, which kind of ruins their pairing. Trajan, he's a some players. For Canyon, for open field, for Wales, he can be good. Otherwise, I'd probably skip him. Now, we also have William, and this is a contentious one. This is something that I'm probably going to get a bit of heat for, but he's going to go into the some players tier. He's not a good choice anymore. I'd rather a Belisarius for people who are getting their first commanders. Does that mean William is bad in the current meta? No, he's still going to be really good without Bing. Could arguably be better than Belisarius, but as the time goes on, I think William is only bound to lose more value, and I think Belisarius is only bound to gain more value. So William is no longer in the good choice tier. Does that mean he's bad? No. Does that mean you shouldn't invest him at all? No. It just means I think Belisarius is a better initial choice before you go and nab the William. So William, good for 3 cav marches, still currently good for 2, but as time goes on, we'll see him just stick to that 3 cav march murder wall rather than being in the 2 cav marches. Wuzetian, skip her. Zhang Yu is also going to go into some players. He's good for 3 cav marches. And YSG, our final commander, also in some players. Good for around 4 or so archer marches. But that is kind of about it with YSG. Sorry, around 3 or so archer marches. But he's definitely only down from here. And even though he used to be one of those OP commanders, I think his reign of terror has started to end. So now here is the final tier list with every single commander fully ranked. And don't forget, you guys can vote on this tier list as well. You can individually rank every single commander I've ranked today, wherever you see fit. Maybe you disagree with me on William. Maybe you think he's better than Belisarius. Come and vote on the tier list and swap their place. That's certainly fair to do. So the link for this tier list will be in the pinned comment and also in the description. And it's going to allow us to make the best tier list in Rise of Kingdoms because it's the overall opinion of the player base. So if you want to make your opinion count, trust me, come on down to the pinned comment and also in the description, there will be a link for this online live tier list that you can do, and I don't even think you have to log in. So come check it out, trust me, you guys will like it, and it allows you to put your opinion out there and will allow me to understand which commanders you maybe want to swap in the future. Now, I just want to say thank you all for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.